Hey folks, it's Mark here from the Australian DeFi Association and Not Centralized. I'm here with Lisa Wade for another Blockchain for Good podcast. Lisa, how's it going?
Yeah, good. Super excited about today.
We've got a special guest. So someone that is also from our space. We had Amanda Wick a few weeks ago. We had Mehdi last week looking at security, but Amanda was someone that works in our space and also is published. And Jonno, you're very much the same. Jonno Newman from TRM Labs. Welcome along.
Thanks for having me. Very, very inclined to say that I'm kind of the same. Amanda's definitely on a pedestal as far as I view people in the industry. And had some great conversations. Definitely, I wouldn't say a hard act to follow because it's not about following. It's about collaboration and different things we can bring to this industry. But yeah, bloody love the memory.
It's so good. My face is aching because I'm.
I'm glad you got some. Yeah, I mean, very, very different books. If you want to learn something, yep, Amanda's definitely the way to go and delve into your insights. If you want something a bit more satire and lighthearted, then hey, I've got you covered as well. So yeah,
fantastic. No, I think it's great. Like there's definitely a bit of a pattern here that, people that want to have that creative outlet as you have, and we'll certainly dive into the book. But before we even go further into that, I think it'd be great for folks that may not know you and put it this way, you're no slouch either. Like I've seen your content on socials explaining crypto in really fun ways. I think, you do a lot to move the space forward around education as well. But can you give a bit of a background to folks that may not know you or how you got into the crypto space? Can you give us a little bit on there?
Yeah, great question. So my background is law enforcement. I was with the police in South Australia, and I was there for 13 years. And the last part of that, I specialize in cybercrime. And it's really interesting because my role in cybercrime was cybercrime training and prevention. So it was about building that investigative capability within law enforcement from the recruit level through to specialized, and also the prevention stuff with scams, which obviously, big connection to crypto and the scam prevention part of the community. So I had to teach cybercrime, and I was very comfortable with a lot of the components that were required to be taught. But there was cryptocurrency, and I think it was maybe read the Bitcoin white paper. I read some technical documents, and I was intimidated by it. It scared me, and I put that in that basket. And I think so many people that are new to the space do. It's intimidating, and you sort of move that to the side. Then it got to the stage where I had to teach it, so I had to learn it. And it was a really good time for me because that was maybe 2019, 2020. Pretty good time to get into crypto. I went down the rabbit hole of crypto Twitter, and like from something that was intimidating to become something that I was obsessed over. And I like that community is like a vortex and just draws you in, and particularly during a bull market. So I went from that intimidation phase to falling in love with it. And as you know, when you enjoy something, it's much easier to learn about that thing because it becomes a more enjoyable experience. So I loved it so much that I eventually left the police and worked at Kraken and worked in their financial crime unit there as an investigator and trainer, and got to see that other side of cryptocurrency from, a leading cryptocurrency exchange and the volume and the exposure that's going on there. It's really, really interesting. And I'm an investigator at TRM Labs now. So we do investigations and we help with law enforcement, with cryptocurrency exchanges, DeFi protocols, all about catching the bad guys, keeping crypto legitimate so that we can be here for the longevity.
Fantastic. I mean, there's a lot of really interesting insights I'm sure you would have had in your journey. And it's interesting because the last two writers that we've had come on here have both come from judicial kind of like a prosecutor and law enforcement kind of backgrounds and have come into this space. I think I didn't realize that your background was also so like that, Jonno. So that's something new for me. Do you still find that you in touch with colleagues that, ex-colleagues that are still trying to understand this space and just kind of hand wave it off and stuff? Or How's that going? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Australia collectively, we're a bit behind maybe someone like the US, who had to be forward leaning. When you go back to things like Silk Road, they had to level up a lot faster. We're certainly getting there within Australia, and it's the specialized teams that they've got it. It's that next level down, and that's where crypto, when it's touching lots of different crime types, then you need to have that skill set and the knowledge. And so I think my idea behind the blockchain for blockheads, which is that kind of that short form, trying to be entertaining, what snippets of learning, was because those sort of people, it's only on the fringes of what they need to do. They're time poor. They're not going to get to be able to do all these really great certifications and courses. So it's like, if you're scrolling through, what can we tell you in the next 30 or 60 seconds? It's going to be an aha moment. Make that stuff relatable, break down that intimidation, and sort of like try and draw them into to dig a bit deeper into crypto, and come join the party with the rest of us, I guess.
Yeah, definitely joining the party is certainly a way to put it. But, it's an important piece of the puzzle that you guys provide, because it's not just the trading and investing. There's also all the infrastructure that sits underneath this, and how blockchain is transforming how we do payments, what Fableration is doing with how, we organize and manage the flow of business that typically happens in the publishing industry, that is, you could say, in a way, broken, but it certainly could be made more efficient. And, we're doing something about that here. So hopefully by, talking about this, and, we'll dive more into your career and other parts of this, but would love to talk to you about the book that you've got, that Lisa's just so excited about, because she's, this, and you can see it, folks. Like, if you're listening to this, or if you are watching, you can see it in the background there. And thank you for sharing an advanced copy, because we got to flick through that. So we've got some questions for you there. But Lisa, did you want to start off?
Oh, look, I just love the book. I mean, maybe just start by telling people what it's called, and then I don't want to drop you right in it, but there is a very cool fart joke in there. And I don't think that Mark or I ever dreamed that we get to have fart jokes on the Blockchain for Good Fableration podcast. So if you maybe jump into that, and I think it probably speaks to not the message but the manner in which you're delivering is, I see it as an education piece, actually. But I'd love to hear from you about Bitcoin miners, and where it came from, and just a little bit more about it, because it's super cool. Everybody, you've got to get a copy.
Yeah, so the title is Bitcoin Miners and Degen Descendants. Now, miners is a play on words. It's OR instead of ER, because we're talking about basically the kid versions, and the children of the Degen parents and the Bitcoin maxis, and the sort of things that they're hearing at home, and playing on kids' imagination, and the literal, like, most of the jargon is just ridiculous anyway within crypto, and then playing that kids' imagination of what that literal interpretation might be like, or their imaginative interpretation, and trying to bring that into life. So the idea is a way that particularly parents that are into cryptocurrency can sort of share those inside jokes and that experience with their kids. The fart joke and the gas, I
mean, gas will never be the same again.
Yeah, I mean, I've got kids, so I've got a lot of kid books, and one thing I said to my wife, I said, every good kid book has a fart joke. I'm like, I have to work out how to put a fart joke into this book, and so it was intentionally engineered, because, like, all the best-selling kids books definitely have a fart reference in there, because, do you know what? If you are 3, farts are funny. If you're 37, farts are still funny. So you got to have them in there.
I'm 53, they're still funny.
They're still funny, yeah.
The amount of, it is kind of funny when you re-look at the world that we're in, where it's like, oh, how much gas did you have to pay? It's like, really? Can you ask that with a straight face anymore?
Exactly.
Great. Yeah. One of the things that interests me, I think we've all been inspired in our own way. I do really see the crypto financial rails as for the younger generation. And I really love it that you sort of, this is a gift to the younger generation of degens who now have kids. So we've got our second generation, really, of crypto natives coming through. Do you see a world unto which kids will be reading this book to their parents?
Look, that'd be great. It'd be certainly be a great legacy to have. The jargon and terminology is probably going to change so much that there may have to be a few updates between now and then. Language does move pretty quickly. The type of references in there that are to people that have been iconic in the crypto industry over the last few years. I mean, even since I've written the book, Trump's coming to power, and that opens up a whole new, I think, to the flow-on effects of everything that's happened in crypto over the last 6 months. So I'd love it to be a legacy. The intention of this stage is those, as you say, the next generation of Degens that are now going into parenthood to better share that experience with their little ones.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I think the education piece is really important for that next gen, that they have it broken down in a way that, it's interesting, but through comedy and humor and, a well-engineered fart joke, like you said, you could actually do a lot more good for a kid's future, ironically enough, versus never talking to them about finance. Like, it's lucky if some schools teach it. And if they don't, there's not many parents that are, say, particularly like literate in this space, but whether it's a parent reading this to their kids or kids just picking it up off the shelf because they're entertained by it and they see a bit of Bitcoin and blockchain in the news. And even if it is funny, but it helps break down some of the barriers to really learning, this could be, you could have a key, a real powerful key here to unlocking financial futures, because the more that we have these kids understand things about it, the better it is going to be for them. So was that always like an aim, do you think, as part of what you're doing here?
I think definitely the byproduct is that familiarization with those sort of terms. I mean, my kids are funny when I ever hear them talk about Bitcoin. And we actually had Elf on the Shelf last year, back when this was in December and Bitcoin had hit 100K USD, and so the Bitcoin at the back was the unicycle, and our Elf crashed a $100,000 unicycle, and the kids got that joke and that reference. So that was a proud parent moment for me. So it is definitely like not breaking that stereotype, but increasing that familiarization and those terms and those sort of things that, it is an important thing. My kids will have Bitcoin when they're old if they want it or not. It's there and it's growing, and they're interested just because they want to cash it out and spend it on Pokemon cards. But that's a side issue.
That might be crypto Pokemon. One thing I'm really curious about, because obviously the title is Bitcoin Miners, and with the conversation we're having now, we've referenced crypto and Bitcoin kind of interchangeably. Are you a Bitcoin maxi? And my second part to that question is, if not, do you see, I could see a series of other chains to really explain to people the depth of crypto?
Yeah, definitely not a true Bitcoin maxi, because, Bitcoin maxis are definitely like 100% committed to Bitcoin. My Bitcoin is definitely by far, I was going to say my favorite cryptocurrency. That's going to upset a lot of people who are like, Bitcoin, not crypto.
Bitcoin,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, but Bitcoin is special in all its own rights, with the fact that, the whole Satoshi Nakamoto, and that, there is no CEO and we're all Satoshi, and all that sort of stuff. It's just like, you cannot replicate that anymore. That is always going to exist. And that's what I find really special. Now, so that is by far my favorite as far as like digital asset, and let's call it that. But yeah, I'm also interested in the way that cryptocurrency works in a lot of other areas, particularly when we start looking at the intersection of AI and crypto, and whether that's like, there's clearly a big pathway there. And I know Mark's like, yeah, like that's all these gems.
You said a trigger word.
I know, I did. I used the two words together, which is just like, it opens your eyelids up straight away. But there's so many different use cases out there, and I enjoy lots of different cryptocurrencies. So I can't say I'm a maxi. Bitcoin is my favorite, and that is like definitely where my heart is. But I also see a lot of other real world use cases within cryptocurrency, and enjoy that side.
Just a quick note on that. When you mentioned the AI side of things, I can totally envision a version of your book for special access where we can have some translated tools as to what we alluded to before. Like maybe it's a kid reading it, but it needs a certain part explained explain like you say what your parent is. Oh, your parent works in marketing. Explain that to a 5-year-old marketing, professional. And it's explained that way, whatever section is of the book, whether it is the gas and fart joke part or something else, I can certainly play a hand in that. So maybe we'll talk offline and build something with you. Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everyone always wants to dig into the fart jokes. So, what a world we live in, hey?
Well, not in banking, by the way. Not in
banking, no.
I was 30, I'm 30 years in finance. I've never heard a fart joke.
Well, yeah. And hey, fart coins at $1 billion market cap. So here we are.
It's ridiculous. And teaching kids the difference between hype versus stuff that's actually, it's making its money off infrastructure. There's plenty of opportunities and offshoots for what you've got with the book, but starting out, I think you've done it well to start off with Bitcoin, because that's the genesis of it all. So to that point, do you see this being a series, do you think?
Look, definitely want to see how it goes. The copies literally arrived at my house today, and now I have a house full of books that I think I'll have trouble going too far down the path of a new book, getting permission from, let's just call it house management. If these books are still sitting around, might be a difficult sell at the moment. But yeah, if this goes well, it was a great creative outlet. I have storyboarded a more educational, not version, but an educational route through this better the inception of, and that is still Bitcoin focused, but the inception of Bitcoin from a bit of a fun angle. But I'd love to. These things take time. We know the problems with publishing, which is why Fabulation is here, and why we're sort of going down this path is to try and maybe expedite that, make it easier for particularly people like me, where this is like a creative outlet and a not even a part-time gig. It's just a nice.
Oh, absolutely. And maybe for the listeners, you could explain your self-publishing experience, because I think so many people will be so wonderful if more people in our industry share their stories, and it does seem quite intimidating. How's your journey been?
Intimidating. Yep, it was intimidating. So my journey probably started about 3 years ago when I first had the idea and wanted to tap into that and wrote out, I want to say a storyboard, but I didn't even know what storyboard was. I kind of mapped out what it turned out. Oh, that's a storyboard. And then I went down the self-publishing path, and at the time was not in a financial position to move forward with it, given the outlay. And so it sort of went to the side, and I started saving up to then do it properly, because I didn't want it to be rushed or on the cheap because of that. And so, so many different options, like, it's a lot cheaper if you just have a paper cover instead of a hardcover. I'm like, it's a kid's book. Like, you know what kids are like? And this paper better print on. I'm like, yeah, but it's a kid's book. They're going to destroy that. Have you got kids? So, there's all those sort of things through the way, but learning how to set it out and going through those processes of the typesetting and all the proofs with the covers and for me, the illustrations. So if you've ever seen my illustrations, and I should show you one day, the illustration I started with and sent to the illustrator. But even that process was really awesome. So I'm in the Barossa, and I found an illustrator who'd done some work for an NFT project and some work in the area. And he's based in Adelaide. So my illustrator lives, 45 minutes from me. The books were printed in Australia, and it just feels good to have this like properly homegrown sort of experience then.
Yeah, absolutely. And you just sort of opened up, I guess, a world of thought for me around, would you ever turn this into an NFT series and sort of be an example of like what we love to call Web 2, Web 3, that bridging, especially at Fabulation? Like, is that something you would consider?
Certainly consider. I think the barrier at the moment is the how, not maybe a little bit the how to, but also the appetite for it. I've done really subtle things like the website when you purchase an order, and this is like if you buy anything from there, your receipt number stuff like BC1Q and, you know, like little things like that. And I want to accept payments in cryptocurrency. Now, the caveat there is I do want to accept payments in Bitcoin, but this is another problem we have within the industry is I set up a business for this process so that I could make and sell this book. But rightly or wrongly, I am petrified that I have a brand new business that's not very old. I have a brand new bank account with a financial institution, and I am worried that if I start accepting payments from using Bitcoin on a reputable source, that I'm going to potentially get debanked and have them there. And so when we talk about barriers to that Web3 integration, as someone that sees that side of the industry, it's something that I'm concerned about, and it's really hard to undo when you hit that. So that's probably what's stopping me from that particular side. But I'd love to accept payments in Bitcoin and then be able to even just send an op return code to the people that purchase, like, thanks for buying this, or something like that, to bring in that Web3 world into that, you know, the real world that we live.
I see bonus NFTs in everybody's future. And I think might be good to unpack that comment a little bit, just because I think it is a massive pain point for our industry. So what you've just described is, you know, commonly known as debanking. And what I'm hearing from you is that's a genuine concern for you as a new business owner.
Absolutely. Now, it's a little bit maybe because of how I've set up my business as well, but it is a legitimate concern that I've spent so long building this. I see benefit in being able to sell the book for Bitcoin using regulated services that go through KYC and all those processes, but I'm concerned at my traditional finance bank's appetite for that type of risk and the lack of ability for recourse. If they make that decision, that then that impacts that account, and then if you go to apply at another financial institution, you have to answer that question: have you ever basically been debanked before? So it's a genuine concern, and that's what's stopping me from making it available at this point in time.
So here's I think the opposite of that question. What do you think would have to happen for you to only take money in crypto? Because I think that's the work of our industry, right? Is what's that journey that we can take for people like you to only take crypto? What would have to happen?
I could definitely do that. I mean, the problem with that is then you're going to have to convert that back to purchase a lot of other components of the business and have to pay tax. That's going to have to come back to there. I'd love to be able to pay tax in crypto as well. But I think that's the blocker is if you're only accepting crypto, you still have to pay certain bills and tax obligations and GST and all those sort of things in fiat. And so how do you do that without, you know, the risk of being debanked? And I don't, like, as much as I love Bitcoin, I love cryptocurrency, I don't see a world where I'd only ever accept that, because I want to make it accessible to people, and cryptocurrency is about making it accessible. So to not offer then a PayPal or a credit card payment, I think is probably counterintuitive to that. But I definitely want to give people the option that if they've got Bitcoin and they want to be able to use Lightning Network to buy a cryptocurrency book, that's part of the journey, that's part of the story, and that's what we ultimately want.
Interesting. What I just heard is we need better on and off ramps for the industry, and we need PayPal and stablecoins to come to the party.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, seeing PayPal does have their version that they're experimenting with, and all the different other stable coins that are out there, whether it's on businesses like Stables trying to create some stuff and others overseas. And I think, as you mentioned, rentals are going to be massively important, but the choices are going to be really key there. Now, speaking of that, like, we've got, let's call it the skeptics in the space. And I think the book, you highlight there that it's, crypto's not for everyone, and that's fine. Like the dad who kept his savings in the bank account, for example. How do you think that enthusiasts can help bridge the gap between what they're into, what we're into in the crypto space, and the skeptics, or those that are unfamiliar? Like, you do a little bit of that in the book, but like, it's a broader topic there, and we kind of highlight it here because we didn't have skeptics, I don't think we'd have the banking kind of issues, right? So how do you think about that?
Yeah, great question. So Normie, the kid, and hopefully he got on that reference. His dad has a savings in a bank account. As far as addressing the skeptics, I think it's hard for like retail and individuals. What we need are the builders and the clear use cases. As much fun as, I'll call it Solana summer because it was summer here in Australia, and the whole no crime in a casino and all those sort of things, and Fartcoin matching that, exceeding a $1 billion market cap. As fun as that is, I think quite often that sucks liquidity away from real projects. It sucks mind share away from real projects, and probably slows down the industry maturity. Even though the real builders are building in the background, it sucks the liquidity and the mind share from that. So the funding goes from those projects. The mind share goes away because people are now looking at these meme coins, and I think that pushes us back a bit. But I think the key is the more use cases, the harder it is going to be to ignore cryptocurrency and to say that, it's just, magic internet money in the wrong way. We like to use it in the right way. But we are seeing a lot more mainstream adoption as far as strategic reserves, as far as, currencies around the world, and big companies putting Bitcoin on their books. I think as that goes, it is really demystifying. There's always going to be skeptics. There's always two sides to the proverbial coin, but I think it's the real use cases, and then people realize that it's there, and not to make your eyes light up again. But I think definitely AI is a big topic at the moment, and crypto and AI could accelerate potential use cases for micropayments, and people might end up using crypto before they even realize it. And that's way to free.
There'll be rails and stuff that are underneath it, and we see like the RBA is going to go another round of testing tokenized assets. But to your point, like there'll be these people who don't even realize that what they're using is actually blockchain underneath it. They just get payments instead of T+2 for transfers. It's instantaneous. There's a lot of finality that's there, and it's programmable. And this future world of just better rails is going to be a part of it. I've got a risk question for you later on, but if you want to,
I don't want to date the podcast because it's like podcast the ultimate sin. However, like you touched on a really important point about that fungibility with the magic internet money, and I think it sort of speaks to the Rails topic. Without dating the podcast, you also talked about Bitcoin on balance sheets of companies, and today actually 100 listed companies in the US have Bitcoin on their balance sheet. That stat was out, and Bitcoin got to number 6 in terms of total market cap of assets. Still has to be 12 times bigger to be as big as gold. So for those of you out there who are worried that you've missed the boat, you have not missed the boat. I guess my question on that before we go into AI, because I'm super fascinated, and spoiler alert for the book, is just this whole WAGMI concept. For those who feel like maybe they're late to the party in crypto, maybe they've missed something, and just this moment in time, can you just explain, because I'm pretty sure it's a degen term, explain that for anyone who's listening and wants to get into this space?
Yeah. WAGMI is near and dear to me. It's my favorite saying. It's one I resonate with. I've got my own WAGMI hat, and like this is,
oh wow,
I haven't worn it. It's like it's probably my, I don't think it is on LinkedIn anymore. It was my profile picture on LinkedIn, and then I needed to get a more professional one. But yeah, it's definitely a hat that I wear a lot, and so there's very deliberate to put that in the book. So there's a few variations of what it means, but basically we're all going to make it. And it's this positive sentiment of, we are going to make it. it is kind of the underdog. We're always pushing, but you know what? We are actually going to make it against all this resistance. It's going to be there. But really it's a positive mantra. It's something I love to send to my brother on days like today where Bitcoin just decides to shoot up, 6% overnight. And so love a little GM for a good morning, and that's the other one on the hat, or a little WAGMI because things are going very well. So I think it's a great man visited about positivity, and quite often you use it in the positive context when things are going well, but you can also use it when things are not going that well, and you're just like, hey, it's all right, lag me, we're all gonna make it.
Amazing.
I think that what's really interesting as well is that when I harken back to when I was just getting or investing, like the first thing I ever did wasn't work in this space, was actually just invest in Bitcoin when it was all the hype cycle, and it was like 2017 or late 2016, and just seeing it shoot up and then crash right down, and to the point where I just made zero money out of it, and just being quite skeptical of it. But when you actually realize what tech is underneath it, the automation part of it, the security angle of it, the ability to transfer both value and data in the same kind of arena, and just the power that it can do to change economies, it makes you really realize these things. And even though, yes, the skeptics are right to argue that we're not there yet. We don't like, oh, it's been out for 12, 13 years. Like, where is it? It's like the internet was around for decades, right? Through ARPANET or DARPA, and what the US was doing before it was really mainstream. So, apples for apples, we're still on the right kind of pathway, but it talks back to the white meat. It talks back to innovation, and technology continues, no matter how much skeptics may want to slow things down. Let's just leave things as they are. That's not how the world works. It's too much information out there. We're too well connected, and the change is already happening, whether you want it to or not. It's just like, do you want to get steamrolled by it, or do you want to continue it? And I guess it leads to my question, like one of the biggest areas, if we think about deep banking, it's the risk areas of banks, and just any business that, whether they've got a particular area that takes care of risk and manages that, or they are just like risk averse of themselves. I think education's an important piece. There's a metaphor here around what you're doing to educate the younger ones. How do you see us like educating those that are out there in the real world, like whether it's businesses or people at banks? Like, what kind of things do we need to think about as we do try to educate?
Yeah, it's a really difficult one. I have done a lot of work with banks prior to, well, even at TRM, but prior to TRM, about what do crypto scams look like. And I think there's a lot of work that can be done to make scam prevention better. And no one wants to see that. No one wants to see scams in crypto. No one wants to see scams with gift cards. But it's the amount of times I dealt with investigations where people were buying $5,000 worth of Coles gift cards. And did we come out and say, oh, gift cards, we should be outlawed? And if you buy a gift card, you got to wait 24 hours before you can use it. No, but we've done that with crypto. Now, and some of the stuff that the prevention works, we need to have this risk, and that's where TRM, we deal with risk, and that's exactly what we do for banks and financial institutions and cryptocurrency businesses. That Bitcoin you're receiving, is there any risk with that? Where did that come from one step ago? Where did that come from many, many steps ago? But you have to apply the right risk, and you can't just use a catch-all bucket and things like holding funds for 24 hours. And I won't name the financial institution, but I've been with them since I was a kid. I've been investing in cryptocurrency for the best part of 6 or 7 years. I've worked at an exchange, and I've been sending funds to these exchanges nonstop the whole time. And for me to still try to send $50 today and have that held for 24 hours, no one reach out to me. It's not an unusual transaction behavior, because it happens every week. But to have that held and then nothing happen, and that's a tick in the box for prevention, I think that's where we've got that mismatch. And so education is super important. And I think we need to get away from that inherent like crypto versus TradFi. It's not. They're always going to complement each other. And so it's how do we make sure they are comfortable in that risk, and how are they educated to make sure that it's educated risk prevention, not just band-aid approaches.
It'd be really ironic is given your work at TRM Labs advising, because your former work was with the police and in law enforcement, and no doubt the risk areas of banks. It'd be really funny if your personal kind of stuff gets flagged, and the reason when you dig down into it is because of something. Oh, well, our advisors said this, and it's like, yes, look at the name on that. That was me.
Yep.
Wait, at full circle moment, you're in a position to kind of have that happen, but let's see. Anyways, Lisa.
Yeah, you go. Yeah.
So just on that, and one of the exchanges when I was in the police, called me one day because I had moved a lot of my cryptocurrency from exchange. I was moving into cold storage, and they called me, and that was great because they knew what risk looked like. They asked the right questions. What did you move? Where are you moving to? Do you control that well? And that was a really, really good experience. Because I knew that they were safeguarding what was happening on there. I knew that I moved my funds, so I was comfortable with it. And I knew that they wanted to check, yep, you're not being scammed, that is safe. And that's the way this should be working. We just need to expand that into all of the financial rails, not just the last part.
Yeah, interesting. And I guess just to pivot a little bit into your book, and one of the where Mark and I have been speaking to lots of writers, and one of the biggest challenges that we're hearing people talk about is marketing their books and how they get it out there. So I think it's an interesting moment in time. You just received a massive, I'm assuming, multiple boxes of copies of your book. And I'm assuming that you haven't sold one yet. I'll buy the first one, by the way. Can you please sign it and post it to me? Check's in the mail. And no, I'll pay with crypto. Oh no, I won't. I'll put it on my credit card. No, right. My question is around what's your plan for marketing the book and how you're going to get it out there? Because we'd like to think that this podcast is going to our industry and people want to support you. So shameless plug. What's your plan? How are you going to market it? And then I've got a follow-up question, but go on that.
Awesome. So it is definitely one of those challenges, and even the printing and distribution is a massive challenge. And I was trying to decide whether I'd do print on demand, whether I would have the copies at home and ship out from here. And ultimately, I wanted to do it myself, just to have that personal touch. Stuff works best for me. And because I went in a hardcover, it was hard to sell via the Amazon web face. So they were only doing, I think, soft cover for Australia. So I'm going my own route. I have created a website called theblockshelf.com, and I'm going to sell it on there. I've decided to do an Australian English version and a US version to make it accessible to the entire global market in cryptocurrency fashion. And that just meant changing mum to mom and those sort of minor changes. But I'm going to try and do it myself. I'm not expecting this to be a highly profitable exercise. My goal is to break even. This is a creative outlet. Anything that exceeds that will exceed my expectations. So I'm relying on through existing social media channels that I build through Blockchain for Blockheads and through people within the industry through LinkedIn. But the reality is that's the size and scope of it. It's the likelihood of being able to get this into proper book resellers and those sort of things just seems like such a far way away and a non-realistic prospect that if those opportunities arrive, obviously I'm going to jump at it. But this is very, very new for me. A brand new business, never written a book before. I didn't even do English in year 12, so take that what you will. But
it's internally because
it's something I'm very passionate about. So
yeah, it's interesting. So what I'm hearing when I'm looking at page 12, no spoiler alert, is that you intend on having a Lambo not from book selling but from crypto trading.
Yes, I think for taxation purposes, I'm probably looking at capital losses brought forward for third or fourth year straight. So definitely no financial advice involved. And that's because I hold my Bitcoin and sell all the other stuff. So
yeah, I don't want to put you on the spot. I think one of the roles I do see that we would love Faberation to play is that marketing piece to help people. And one of the ideas we've got is around a beta test of a book club. So I might put you on the spot and see if we can hit you up for a book club and your Twitter spaces and see if we can help with that, because I'd love to upload her book and see how that goes.
Yeah, I'd love to be part of that. I think what Faberation is doing is awesome, and it's funny because like 2 years ago I would have gone, okay, what problem are you solving here? Is it like, I understand that that the brick and mortar bookshops are struggling and those sort of things, but I've never actually really understood from the author's perspective. And Nick Furno, who I work with, and his book, and you just see that these things are so hard. And Jeff White, who did amazing stuff as well, and you see them going, it's really hard trying to get this out there, and it's a constant job, and they come out and they say they're drained, and you've got, your Amanda Weeks of the world that are just like, do you know what, this is really, really hard. And these are people that are high profile, and so it is intimidating to kind of go, how do you actually get this out there? And I don't know the answer, and so I'm open to what the book club and to see what that journey is like, and more importantly, be part of that is it's really exciting.
Oh, that's exciting. And in fact, just to share, you gave me an idea the way you described the bookstore experience and your fears before, because one of the things that we're really wanting to do is, I love my local bookstore. I'm friends with Helen. I think it's really sad that every bookstore I've walked into, that none of them are making any money because they're getting killed by the giants and the online publishing industry. And that is one of the problems we do want to solve for as well, because we want to build community. And I think all of us in Web3, it's all about Web2, Web3. It's about real world as well as the crypto world. It's about building those bridges. So hopefully we can use your book to do that as well. And I'm super excited about it. That wasn't really a question.
Prepare for the tour. I'm pretty sure the Wiggles were only keen to just break even when they first started. So, and look at how that's gone.
Oh man, they need a song.
Yeah.
It's they've taken a bit of a turn now. It's there's a lot of Wiggles now.
I think they finally hit, break even.
Yeah. I mean, but yeah, it was interesting seeing the Wiggles from two generations. They were sort of around when I was younger. I probably just missed that, but my kids were definitely heavy into the Wiggles early on, and I have definitely been to a Wiggly concert myself. Guilty as charged.
Well, I'm so old that they were the cockroaches when I was at
the better kind, yeah.
So
geez.
Yeah. Just one from me. Just in terms of the concepts that you've got in the book, any regrets on things that you've left out that will be in book 2?
Oh, absolutely. I think this is part of the process of taking 2 to 3 years to write it. It's crypto. Like, man, how much can change in 2 weeks, let alone 2 or 3 months, and across those years. I've missed Trump. That is definitely a book in itself. This predates Trump, but it also, because crypto goes so fast, there's some references in there that seem like so long ago with Vitalik and, I don't want to do too many spoilers, but SBF and those sort of players that, some have rightly shaped the industry, some have wrongly shaped the industry, but regardless, they've shaped it, they've caused, been impacting the path that we were on and the result for where we are now. And sometimes it is good to reflect on those. But as far as will there be any content to write on in 12 months' time, then absolutely. There's going to be plenty of new things happening within crypto. But I think at some stage you got to push print and draw a line in the sand and put the next for version 2 if that's
We've got a hack coming up, and Solana have just spiced us out for the community, so they might be banging on your door sooner rather than later, we hope.
Yeah.
I was just about to mention there's a few things going on with the Favoration community. There's the writers kind of competition. There's also a bigger hackathon that's coming out towards like the end of the year as part of Oz CryptoCon. But the whole, the writers thing, it's this short story, 1,000 to 5,000 words, encouraging people to get their creative hats on and potentially win 1 Bitcoin as first prize. But then you've also got like the multiple other prizes there. Just going back to you, Jonathan, Jonno, the key thing I wanted to kind of highlight there is that it took you some courage and it took you something triggered in you to get this ball rolling and move. And hopefully, we see that with people that form part of this competition. But what was it that really triggered you to go, you know what, I've got to do this?
Great question. I mean, spending a career in law enforcement, when you're in policing, you have to, I don't want to say you cannot have an opinion, but you need to be mindful that you're representing law enforcement. And so you do get, I don't like to say constrained, but looking back on it, that was the way that I lived and operated. I didn't have a lot of social media because I worked in cybercrime, so I was, more on the operational security and protection side. And then when I left, sort of almost flipped completely. I started tapping into creative outlets because I hadn't done it for so long. I had never been good at drawing, again, why I got an illustrator, but just didn't have those creative outlets. And so it was the opportunity to do that, but that leap of faith to decide, yes, I'm going to do that. Now, blockchain for blockheads, which is like short form video, that took a lot more courage. Whereas the book took a lot more, I guess, time. And am I going to invest in this financially and resource wise as far as time? And obviously, you've got to make, family commitments. But okay, I'm going to spend some money on this. And so I think that was probably the hardest thing of how do I spend money on this, on something that I just want to build for fun? And how do I go about that process? And that's why it took me 3 years. The first time I'm like, oh, okay, that's going to cost a bit more to have fun than I thought. Let's do this properly and save up and do it right. So I think that was more around the financial risk and outlay versus the blockchain for blockheads, which is the cringe factor. And I'm going to push, we're going to push pen and send and walk away. And I can no longer watch that or hear any audio, but people are getting value out of it, which is the idea. So
amazing. Well, I think you're a legend, and I really appreciate you coming on board today. And thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. And this just epitomizes the culture of crypto and the willingness to support each other and bring people up. I mean, this sparked from just a very brief conversation that you and I had, and you're like, "Yep, that's awesome. Let's help you through this process." And yeah, genuine, sincere. Like, thank you for the opportunity to both of you.
No, fantastic. Thanks for your time. And all the links as to how to get in touch with you will be below the video. So again, Jonno, we will speak with you soon. Cheers.
Thank you.
See ya.
Tech is wild and the future's untamed. Blockchain blazing, carving new lanes. AI whispers in a silicon scheme. Dreams coded deep in a mainframe dream. Algorithms dance on this digital dirt. Crypto's buzzing while the old rules hurt.